Hey guys, welcome to my video for the Women of Worth Summit. I'm Katie Armstrong, and today's topic is actually a little difficult for me to title. I'm going to do my best. But just so you know, I have big arm gestures, I have big energy, I will probably move fast and I'll move a lot. And yeah, that's me. So, a little more about me. I am a mom of four. I'm a writer, and I also am a chakra healer, and I can see chakras and auras, which are super cool, by the way. Um, and then I'm also a coach, so I help empower women. My company is Warrior Woman. We have retreats and all sorts of fun things. Anyway, that's what I do. That's who I am. Welcome. So, let's get started. I want to ask a hypothetical question. And before I get to the hypothetical question, kind of want to get your mind stirring a little bit. So, let's talk. You, as a woman, you are the last, the very last of God's creations. Okay? The saying, save the best for last, isn't just a phrase. This saying, this phrase, has significant meaning, and I want you to apply it to yourself. Why did God save women for last? This question often comes up, and I'm often want to let my mind wander and wonder what my worth is. So anytime that kind of comes up where I'm like, I don't actually know if God loves me, or I don't actually know if I'm worthy of these blessings, or I seriously have no idea what my worth is. I don't know. Like, I'm out, right? The image of that I think has been passed around Facebook, and probably a lot of you have seen this, the image that comes up every single time is the story of God talking to an angel about women, okay? And there's a woman in the picture lying on the ground, naked, and it's a drawing. It's not a picture. We're not getting graphic here, but it's a drawing, lying curled up on her side of a woman. And the angel starts asking what this creation is. And then God starts kind of explaining, oh, well, she's a woman. She's a vessel of creation. And the angel touches her. She's so soft. Like, how can she be such a strong warrior if she's so soft? And God explains, she's soft because she's full of love and all of these wonderful things. So the angel's asking questions and God's answering these questions. And then at the very end, the angel asks, does she have any flaws? Like, she sounds perfect. And then God says, only one. She often forgets her worth. How often do we forget our worth? I want you to stew on that for a minute as I tell you guys a story. Imagine a 19-year-old sitting on a curb outside her house, crying. She's, curled up, has her arms wrapped around her knees, and she's sitting there bawling, just bawling her eyes out. And what would you assume was happening to that girl? If you decided to just drive by and you didn't stop to ask, what would you think was happening? I'm going to tell you what happened. That girl was me. And it was almost 20 years ago now. Over 20 years ago now. I had just gotten off a phone call with my ex-boyfriend. And this ex-boyfriend, okay, I'm just going to tell you what happened. We'd had sex. And the next day, we were broken up by that point, and I decided to go to his apartment anyway. And the next day I called him to ask him to talk to him about a relationship, because I wasn't the type of person to just go have a one night stand. That wasn't a thing that I was willing to do. And he started yelling at me, and he started calling me a clingy bitch, and he called me another choice word that I won't say, and telling me that I was no good for him, and I could we weren't compatible, and there were all sorts of things that he said after I had given a very special part of me to him, because I thought that I loved him, and I thought he was right for me, and I thought he was the one, and all of those things that you decide when you're young and make stupid choices. And that phone call and all of the things that he said, I never spoke to him again after that phone call. I still haven't spoken to him. It's been 11 years since that happened. Right? I don't even know. It's too far long. It's too far gone. Like, it doesn't really matter anymore, so I don't remember how long ago it was. But regardless, that's not part of the story. I want you to ask this question. Does that define my worth? Did that conversation with that guy, okay, define who I was? And even deeper than that, did that choice that I made define who I was? Okay? So, did what he say define who I was, and did my choice define who I was? Next story. I was in love with a guy named Brian. This was 10.5 years ago. And he was amazing, guys. Amazing. We decided, while we were visiting each other in Cedar City, he lived in Vegas and I lived up here. We decided to run to Vegas, and guess, what did we do in Vegas? We got married. So my husband and I, were still married 10.5 years later, ran off to Vegas, and he told me that, recently he told me, that it was the best choice he'd ever made, was to marry me and to get married to me. Now, my next question, does that event define my worth? Okay. Next story. I'm sitting in the hospital, and I am about ready to have my first baby, okay? And she comes, and she's big. She's 9 pounds, 12 ounces. She comes, and she is having some breathing problems, and so they rush her off to the NICU. And I felt like a failure as a mother, because my baby came into this world having breathing issues. I can't believe I did that to my baby. Did that define my worth? That situation that was out of my control. Did that define my worth? Okay, next story. We're going to fast forward 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, something like that. I don't know, it was 2 years ago. We're going to fast forward to 2 years ago. I'm pregnant with my baby. He's 18 months now. I'm pregnant with him. I'm sitting on the floor of an Airbnb down in Moab. And I am so severely depressed that I was holding a bottle of pills ready to end everything. And then I didn't. Does that moment where I almost committed suicide define my worth? And then does the choice to live define my worth? Okay, last story. 10 years of marriage, and my husband and I decided to go to Europe, and we went to the Faroe Islands. If you don't know what the Faroe Islands are, look it up. It's an amazing place. And we're there, and I'm standing over this cliff, looking over the Atlantic Ocean, and the waves crashing against the rocks. And I'm looking out over the cliffs, the other cliffs around, and watching the birds fly in the sky. And I thought, this is heaven. I'm here with my husband, I'm here with my baby. I'm experiencing an amazing amount of love in this moment from my Heavenly Father, my God. And I was in that spot. Did that moment define my worth? Did that moment define my worth? Here's the thing I think I want you guys to take away from those stories. None of those situations, none of them, defined my worth. I was shown different things. When I was having that conversation with my ex-boyfriend, I was shown that some people won't see your worth. When I was in that situation, standing across from my husband, getting married, eloping, that showed me that some people do value me and do see my worth. When I was having my first child, and I saw that baby and then she had to be rushed away, that didn't define my worth. That showed me that sometimes crap happens and crap hits the fan. Me almost committing suicide did not define my worth. And me making the choice to stay didn't define my worth either. It showed me that my life was worth living for. That my son's life was worth living through. That his life for him was worth living. That my situations in life do not define me, they make me grow. That's what all of these situations showed me. And then this last situation where I was in the Faroe Islands standing over a cliff overlooking the ocean, that didn't define my worth either. And you might be thinking, well, I mean, yeah, it did, because God showed you your worth. No, he didn't define my worth in that moment. He showed it to me. My worth was already defined. My worth was already there. My worth was already set. But it is up to me, to choose into that worth or to not. The point is that God has defined my worth, and there is literally nothing in this world that can change my worth. Okay? I accept that I've made choices, that I've made poor choices. The good and the bad. I accept that I have made lovely, beautiful choices and that I've made ugly choices. I accept that I have chosen my life. And I cannot change my worth. It is infinite. It is unchangeable. Nothing in this world and beyond can change who I am and what I am worth. I have value. You have value. So, now let's stop talking about me and let's talk about you. Literally nothing on this planet can change your worth. Literally nothing on this planet can change who you are. Literally nothing on this planet and beyond can change the fact that you were God's greatest creation. That you are worth fighting for, that you are important to him. Nothing. You can't do anything. You could literally be the worst human on the planet. Let's give an example. Thinking of really bad examples. Okay, let's Hitler, okay? Nothing changed his worth. His worth was infinite, okay? Go with me on this. But he didn't choose into it. He did not choose into his worth. He chose something opposite of worth. He chose worthlessness. He chose loneliness. He chose evil. Good versus evil is the choice between choosing into your worth or choosing worthlessness. And this is over a long period of time. This is not, I yelled at my kid, now I'm choosing worthlessness. That's not how any of this works. It's not how that works. You have to give yourself grace. That's where the grace comes in, right? Because us choosing our worth is choosing to try. Hitler's an extreme example, so we won't go there again. Let's go to, trying to think. Let's just go to somebody who has had several, oh gosh, this is hard for me to define. This is hard for me to define. Okay, let's choose Trent, okay? My ex-boyfriend. This guy was very harsh and mean to me, and he didn't see my worth, and he didn't see my value. He didn't see any of that. He chose out of that, right? Was he choosing his worth by calling me all of these different things and being mean to me? He wasn't choosing into his worth in that moment, but he was still worth his infinite worth to God. Why? Why is that the case? Why is it the case that we can still have infinite worth even though we make poor choices? Because grace is that in between. Grace is that big section between where we are and where God is, yeah? And if we're trying, grace upon grace upon grace upon grace upon grace upon grace upon grace, we will get here. But choosing into that grace again and again and again requires us to understand that we are worth the fight, that we are worth taking those steps to get here. When we choose into our worth, isn't it easier for us to let God forgive us? When we choose into our worth, isn't it easier to forgive ourselves? When we choose into our worth, isn't it easier to give ourselves grace? When we choose into our worth, isn't it easier to let Christ's grace heal us? Why do we think life needs to be super hard? Why do we think that we have to feel worthless in order to fight a good fight? Why can't we see that seeing our worth makes life easier, and that easier life is okay? It's more than okay, it's good. Shouldn't there be things that are so easy for us so that when situations happen that are outside of our control, when those situations come up, we have a foundation. Shouldn't there be something like that? Shouldn't there be things that are easier for us so that when crap hits the fan, we're not freaking out? Because there are some few basic fundamentals and foundations that we need to understand in order for life to not be overwhelming. Number one, God loves us unconditionally and has defined our worth as infinite. 2, Christ saves anyone willing to try. You don't have to be perfect for him to do it. You simply have to have the desire to try. And 3, grace extends beyond sin. Grace extends to that moment in the kitchen when you accidentally burn dinner. Grace extends to the fact that you haven't mowed your lawn in several days, several weeks, okay? Grace extends to those moments where I'm having my first child and she's having breathing problems. Grace extends to me feeling so worthless that I was willing to almost commit suicide. Grace extends even to that. Grace extends to anyone willing to try. And it extends beyond sin. It extends beyond making severe mistakes. Okay. Worth. What does worth mean? So let's look it up. The value equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration. The level at which someone or something deserves to be valued or rated. The value equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration. Do you think God considers you? That you are under his consideration? Not just consideration, let's look at it deeper. Do you think that God puts you under his umbrella? That he not only considers you, but that he loves you. And if love is valued more than anything else in this world, how much more is your worth? Even if it's under consideration and not under unconditional love. The level at which someone or something deserves to be valued or rated. Okay. Your choices on this earth do not define your worth. And here's why. Your worth was valued and rated before you came here. Why is it that we value humans, us humans, we value childhood and a child's life more than we value an adult life? What is it? What is it about childhood or children that makes us as humans value a child's life above an adult's life? And it has to do with, we can sense their innocence and purity. And here's what's interesting. God still sees our innocence and purity. But us as humans, we translate mistakes into offenses. And then you are lowered in your value. And then if you do it again, you're lowered even more, and you're lowered even more, and you're lowered even more. Okay? That is our way of valuing things. That's not God's way of valuing things and defining its worth. God's definition of worth is constant and never changing. Our definition of worth is based on our judgments, based on our human experience. So if that gives you a little bit more understanding of what worth means, then here's what I need you to do, okay? Here is your challenge. Study unconditional love. Okay? So go online. Study what unconditional love is. And if you're a parent, you have children, I want you to look at your children. Okay? Do you unconditionally love them? Do you allow them to make mistakes and then love them through the learning? If you don't, is that your desire? But you're human, and so you're not great at it. Here's the thing. God is perfect at showing us unconditional love, which means he is perfect at letting us make mistakes and guiding us through the growth. You know what your child's worth is. You've seen it. You love your children. You would do anything for those children. So then why do you not give God that same understanding? Aren't you a child? Isn't your Father in heaven perfect? So then if you make a mistake like I did when I slept with my ex-boyfriend, I didn't change my worth making that mistake. God didn't change my worth either when I made that mistake. What he did was he loved me through the growth. Because he knew that if he loved me through the growth, I would exceed and succeed at where I'm trying to go. He knew that I had potential. He knows this. And none of those things are the things that define our worth, right? None of those things are the things that he took into consideration when he defined our worth. But he sees something in us that we don't see. And I challenge you to study that out and figure it out and ask him. If you really want to know what unconditional love looks like, ask him to show you. And then your next challenge after studying it out is to allow it from God. Allow the unconditional love and allow the grace to provide peace and ease in your life. Peace and ease. You don't have to be perfect. You don't. He doesn't expect that. He does not expect us to attain perfection now. He expects us to want to try. And he expects us to receive his help. And he expects us to understand that you and I are children of God. I love you guys. study this and ask Him to show you what unconditional love looks like and what grace looks like, so that you can provide yourself with grace every day, so that you can allow grace from God to come into your life. You guys are awesome. You guys are worth it. So keep fighting. Keep being the warrior you are. And all else falls into place. I'll talk to you guys later.